If you listen to the official reports, the labor market is resilient. We are at full employment. The economy is booming. But if you talk to anyone in the tech industry right now, it feels less like a boom and more like a slow, structural collapse. The golden ticket, the high-paying software engineering job, is suddenly worthless. Why? And today we're looking past the headlines to understand why tech companies are still conducting massive layoffs, why finding a new job is a brutal, soul-crushing exercise, and why the promise of AI is being used as a corporate shield for pure old-fashioned greed. The mainstream narrative is simple. AI is getting better, so we need fewer people. It sounds clean, futuristic, and inevitable, but the truth is far messier. The current job crisis in tech isn't primarily caused by ChatGPT writing code. It's caused by a hangover from a decade of reckless spending, high interest rates, and a cynical return to cost-cutting measures that hit workers the hardest. Let's start with the numbers, or rather, the lack thereof. An unemployed software engineer in January 2024 described the market as brutally slow, noting that applying twice a week felt pointless because there were simply no new job postings every day. This confirms what many are feeling. The layoffs aren't the main problem anymore. The Times' frozen hiring times is, as one staff engineer put it, the jobs that were cut last year haven't come back, and there are still a ton of unemployed developers. Yes, the peak of the panic, the early 2023 period when companies were shedding 10,000 plus jobs each might be over, but the bleeding hasn't stopped.
If you want to think about a company that overbuilt during the pandemic, I'd say that Amazon is the number one company that overbuilt. Where are the cuts?
It's just become a slow, chronic illness. Data shows that within the first 4 months of 2024, the industry had already laid off over 50,000 people. If that pace continued, we would exceed the total layoff numbers from 2023. So, the job market isn't getting better, it's just plateauing at a dangerously low altitude. There are more people looking for work every month, and fewer companies willing to open their wallets. To understand this freeze, we have to look back at the economic party we just left. For over a decade, interest rates were near zero. Economists call this the ZIRP era, zero interest rate policy. During ZIRP, money was essentially free. Companies like Google, Meta, and hundreds of startups could borrow billions without penalty. What did they do with that cheap money? They hired everyone. They scaled teams far beyond what was necessary. They hired 3 developers when they only needed 1, just in case they might need the other 2 someday. This was the ZIRP bubble. It stretched out through the COVID pandemic, when WFH was booming and companies were throwing money at anyone who could write Java or React.js. That bubble finally burst in 2022 and 2023, right when central banks started raising interest rates to combat inflation. When interest rates go up, borrowing becomes expensive. Suddenly, companies can no longer afford to maintain the bloated, expensive teams they built during the cheap money era. They need to slim down their workforce to boost their profit margins and satisfy shareholders who are now demanding a return on capital, not just growth at any cost. The layoffs you see today aren't a forward-looking move based on technological advancement. They are a backward-looking correction for a decade of financial recklessness. It's the hangover from the party, and the workers are the ones cleaning up the empty bottles. But here's where the narrative gets truly cynical. Corporate America needs a good cover story for these mass firings. They can't just say, we hired too many people because borrowing was free, and now we're firing you to make our stock price look good. That sounds terrible. Instead, they use the buzzword of the moment: AI. We are constantly told that AI is ready to automate 80% of tasks, that the engineer who writes code is obsolete. But the evidence on the ground tells a different story. As one developer noted, yet Gen AI has solved nothing. The layoffs are happening, the stock prices are jumping, but the actual productivity gains from generative AI in the enterprise sector are still minimal. The AI narrative is a convenient tool. It allows companies to cut massive payroll expenses, claim they are future-proofing the business, and see their stock price rewarded, all while ignoring the fact that the tech they're replacing people with isn't even fully operational yet. This isn't innovation, it's greedflation too. Ling. The inspiration videos highlighted how corporations used inflation as cover to raise prices. Now, they are using AI as cover to cut labor costs, even when they are posting record-high profit. The goal is clear: force workers to accept less. If the market is flooded with experienced developers, the remaining jobs can be offered at way less compensation and much harder qualifications. We are seeing anecdotes of experienced engineers taking 50% pay cuts or dropping $20,000 just to get back into the game. If the ZIRP hangover was the cause and the AI narrative is the cover, then outsourcing is the executioner. This is the part of the story that often gets buried in the tech news cycle, but it's a major driver of the job freeze. For many companies, the fastest way to cut costs isn't just to use AI, but to send the jobs overseas. We are seeing companies laying off entire teams and outsourcing those functions, often to countries like India. The logic is purely financial. As one comment noted, you are going to find better quality for 1/3 the cost. While the quality of outsourced talent is heavily debated, the math is undeniable. If a company can achieve similar output at 1/3 of the cost, they will do it, especially when shareholders are demanding efficiency. This creates a race to the bottom for American tech wages. Why pay a senior developer $180,000 in San Francisco when you can pay a highly competent team a fraction of that elsewhere? This isn't just about reducing payroll, it's about eliminating the American cost structure entirely. And there are zero penalties for this. As one frustrated worker pointed out, something needs to be done about American companies offshoring without any penalties. Companies are rewarded for prioritizing global arbitrage over domestic employment. The outsourcing trend is particularly devastating because it targets highly skilled, experienced workers. It's not just the entry-level roles disappearing, it's entire data platform teams and software architecture roles being dissolved and recreated abroad. This brings us to the new reality for tech workers. The market is demanding more while compensating less. The few jobs that are posted require extreme levels of seniority and specialized skills, yet they come with suppressed salaries. The market is functioning as a supply and demand problem, but it's been deliberately engineered. By flooding the market with mass layoffs and simultaneously slowing down hiring, companies create massive labor supply.
More layoffs coming to multiple Bay Area tech companies, with hundreds of people set to lose their jobs.
Doge striking again. CNN learning the education department is expected to begin sweeping layoffs tonight.
When supply is high, workers lose leverage and are forced to accept reduced wages and harsher contract terms. One commenter nailed the cynical strategy. The point is to force workers to ask less wages. Supply and demand problem. This is how the S&P 500 maintains its 10% annual growth. The value must come from somewhere, and in this case, it's coming directly from the worker's paycheck. The experience of a 4-5-year-old worker in the 3D animation industry encapsulates the progressive deterioration. In 2022 till 2024, things got really progressively worse, and right now in 2025, I would say it's the worst job market ever seen in my 45 years on Earth. This isn't just a cyclical dip. This is a structural transformation where highly profitable corporations are leveraging financial correction, the ZIRP hangover, technological hype, the AI cover story, and globalization, the outsourcing squeeze, to permanently reset the cost of skilled labor. The system is working exactly as designed, but for the shareholder, not the employee. The high-paying, stable tech job that defined the 2010 seconds is gone, replaced by a precarious landscape where job security is a myth and pay is constantly under pressure. If it feels like you're working harder for less security, you're not imagining it. The game changed, and for the tech worker, it just got harder to win. And if you like this breakdown of economic weirdness, hit that subscribe button. We'll keep tracking where the money madness is headed next.